Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Man to pin down.
Today, we are honored to welcome an extraordinary guest whose life story is a powerful testament to the resilience, redemption, and the unstoppable strength of the human spirit. Thomas Campbell is the founder of the Light Project and the author of the inspiring book, From Ashes into the Light, a compelling journey of overcoming adversity, discovering purpose, and awakening the light that exists within every one of us. Having faced challenges that would have broken many people, Thomas emerged with a renewed sense of purpose and a mission to help others recognize their own potential for transformation. His story serves as a beacon of light and a beacon of hope for those who may feel trapped by their circumstances, reminding us that our past doesn't define our future. Through unwavering faith, courage, and determination, Thomas demonstrates that even in life's darkest moments, there is a path forward towards healing, purpose, and fulfillment. Join us as we sit down with the incredible Thomas Campbell to discuss his remarkable journey, the lessons he's learned along the way, and how each of us can awaken the light within, overcome obstacles, and create a future far more greater than we ever imagined. Please welcome my good friend, best-selling author, I might add, Thomas Campbell, to Business Innovators Radio. Thomas, you're going to have to pay me extra money for that powerful introduction I just gave you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. TC, it's wonderful to be back on with you.
Yes, I had you on our nationally syndicated television show, and you just crushed it. You just dropped the mic and left the studio. People just loved your story. I can't wait to get you back in the studio for another round with you, sir. But I had to bring you on our podcast, one of the hottest podcasts on the planet, and a really deeper dive on some of these issues. And so I am thrilled that you agreed to come on our show today.
Yes, sir. Indeed, it's an honor to be on here with you, brother. God is really doing miraculous things, not only for me, but for the project as well. And the greatest motivator is just seeing how other people are motivated to do more and inspired in their life by the life that I've lived and the life that I am living through the one and only God, our Savior.
Amen. Amen. Well, let's get into some of your personal stories. Where I want to start with you on our show today. How did your own life experiences shape this vision that you currently have?
Well, my life has been one where if someone were to ask me, I would say I was an adult before I ever was a child. And what I mean by that is that for about 8 or 9 years, I was homeless as a child. It's a horrible thing when you're a foster child and your parent is still alive, but you have no connection, brother.
Mm.
And at about the age of 9 or 10, I knew I was just a liability. I wasn't, as you say, I was a burden, not a blessing. And that was stress to me.
Right.
And God just, at that time, I knew that there was a creator. I just didn't know how he played a role in my life, and I just kept looking and I'm like, man, why is it that I see these blessings all around me, but what about the light inside? And all that time, I didn't understand what I felt, those words that I would hear sometimes when I was alone, because a lot of times when you're alone, that's when God is at his greatest, because then you're confronted with that man in the mirror and you have to deal with the reflection that you see in order to get where you want to be.
Right. So the Light Project, tell me about the Light Project, because I sort of think we have to cover a little bit of that ground because your personal story certainly inspired the work you're doing as the founder of the Light Project. So tell our listening audience a little bit more about your inspiration for the Light Project and your vision for it, sir.
Well, the Light Project is basically inspired because when I was in my 20s, when I was in my early 20s, I was coming out of the Army. I was dealing with PTSD. I was dealing with alcoholism and other issues. And I sat down, and I just got tired. And I asked God, I said, why am I still here? What is my purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, he said to me, you are the light. I am the light. I'm communicating with you. And I said, what do you mean? He said, look all around. And I looked around and he said, I affect everyone, but no one affects me. And he said, everyone sees me. It's just they don't see me in my true vision. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm the light. I'm the light within you. He said, what do you think has guided you? Who do you think has protected you at those times when you didn't have any protection that you knew of? And that's when it came to me, and it simply stated, I am the light. I am all that you see, and I am all that you're designed to be. And I'm designed for everyone. I'm not a God of convenience. I'm a God of wisdom. I'm a God of supreme intelligence. And I said, what does that mean? He said exactly what I said. You didn't pick me, I picked you.
Mm.
And with the Light Project, where that comes from is when I was homeless, one thing I would do a lot of nights when I was out there, just walking the street, I would look in windows, and it used to fascinate me because when I would walk past homes, I would always see if the front light was on in the window, and if I saw a front light on the window, that meant there was somebody there. There was a family. There was somebody that cared about somebody, because I didn't have that. And I'd look in the window sometimes and I'd see the silhouettes of people, and I'd think to myself, man, there's a family in there. Somebody somewhere in there cares about what's happening in their life, because I thought, who cares about me? I'm alone. But when I would see that light, it let me know that somewhere, somebody had a purpose. There was love there. There was light there. And I asked God when he said, I have a mission for you. I said, what is that mission? He said, you are to be the lighthouse that people see. He said, when you look at a lighthouse on the ocean, it brings everyone there. It guides everyone to the correct path. He said, they may be big, they may be small, they may be different types of ships, but when you see a light, you see hope. You see a sense of giving. You see love. You see what you were looking for is already inside of you. And with the Lighthouse Project, what we're doing is we're establishing resource centers, 24-hour resource centers within the United States where individuals can come and they can get the assistance that they need. And the reason why I call it a lighthouse center is because of the reflection of light that I remember seeing from the windows when I was young.
Right.
And my thing is, I'm not designing them for show. I'm designing them so those that are in most need can see that light when it's most needed. Because someone may be out there at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. If they see that light, they know there's no judgment. There's hope, which is one thing that everybody needs. There's respect. There's love. There's the basic principles that everybody needs in order to succeed in life is within that building without judgment. My goal is to design something that will give people a sense of hope, people a sense of courage, people a sense of determination in their lives. 3 things are dedication, determination, and devotion. Those are the 3 things that keep everyone alive. That's what gives you your purpose. And when you see the lighthouse, I want you to know that you can come in here. You're not going to be judged. We're going to approach you where you're at to get you where you need to be. That's the Lighthouse Project. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter where you're from. That's not what we're about. When people restrict God, they are restricting his power, but his power cannot be measured by anything that man has designed. That's what the Lighthouse Project is.
So, what's the problem in society that you're trying to solve through this movement?
What I'm trying to solve, well, first off, let me say the problem that I see within society is society no longer has God in it.
Right.
And I don't say that to be funny. I mean, it does, but they're making God a God of convenience. They're making love more respectable than respect. They're taking things that only offer temporary pleasure, and they're forgetting that we all have a common unity. We have a common bond. And one of the main reasons why I designed the Light Project is because I see much talk of revolution, but I see no effective evolution. But everything in nature and in the universe has an evolutionary process. So you can't tell me that a God of evolution is not giving you effective and a way to get an effective solution to the problems that mankind faces every day. And that's what the Light Project is. The Light Project is simply a supreme design that can give an evolution to what society needs today, which is respect, honor, living intensely, growing harmoniously, reaching, achieving, conquering your goals instead of letting your obstacles conquer you. In a higher elevation of self, we definitely want to bring a higher elevation to humanity. One thing I noticed, and I'm not saying anything negative about any particular institution, but I told my friend one time, I said, the problem with a lot of churches is not that they're not trying to get it across, it's that they haven't broke that code. You can talk about Jesus, but until you talk about the principles of Jesus, what you're saying can never really be absorbed. It can never be used to its fullest potentials. When they talk about God, you don't talk about the concept of God. What God is really, you just use the name.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying, correct?
Right. So how does it's a great segue into the next question is how does the Light Project differ from a traditional church, a nonprofit, or a community center?
Well, what it is that we're doing differently, firstly, is because I'm not allowing anyone to say, well, this is only for Pentecostals or this is only for Catholics. No, this is for anyone that this is for mankind. This is for any man or woman on the street that needs a higher elevation in their life, whether it be spiritual, physical, mental. It all comes back to the spirit, anyways, the spirit of God, the spirit of the creator within you. But I found that one thing that often stops people from getting the help that they need is because they're judged by who they are and not what they are. What I mean by that is oftentimes we have oftentimes people judge individuals simply off of the way they look, but not how they really are on the inside. But the creator is not like that. God is not like that. God is not designed based on personality. God shows his purpose. We've become we've become a very personality driven culture. And one of the things that, we're addressing is the fact that it doesn't matter where you're from. Because, like I said, once again, not taking away from the churches, but, this division, how can you be divided when you're connected with an undivided God?
Right.
He didn't say, I'm only going to give you this much enlightenment if you're a Catholic or if you're a Jew or if you're a Muslim or if you're a Presbyterian. He said, whoever you are, I have given you all the same gifts and qualities. And that's where the Light Project comes in. And what we want to do is we want to affect those that are most not seen, but affected the most. Those that are like the invisible society that we have today, the homeless,
Right.
The ones that may be searching for things, but you're searching on the wrong path. You don't see the light because
Sure.
you're consumed in the darkness.
What does the phrase bringing people from the darkness into light mean to you personally?
What it means to me is showing it really has a twofold. What it means bringing people from the darkness into the light means that we're helping you live. A lot of people, they're walking, but they've lost their purpose because they don't see the light in their lives anymore. Oftentimes we're told too that, our light is too bright, or that, you have to conform to someone's standards because the light is not showing within them. They don't want to see it within you. But that's what we're here to destroy. We want individuals to see that light within them in its complete version. Does that make sense?
Sure, sure it does. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned in to Business Innovators Radio. I've got my special guest, Thomas Campbell, on our show. He's the founder of the Light Project, and we're really diving deep into his vision for this incredible project that he's undertaking as the founder. And so relevant and so timely for the times that we live in, sir. I have to tell you, why do you think it is? Because you started to talk about this, but if you could park the car and talk about why you feel people today are searching for deeper purpose and transformation, more so now than ever before.
Well, one of the reasons why I think that is because the devil has been or I should say, yeah, just say for what it is, the devil's been on a run, in today's society. You have death constantly being pushed upon people. A lot of people are looking for alternatives in their lives. A lot of people are also coming to the realization that materialism is not it. I'm not saying materialism is not important, but, you have to look at it. You come into this world with everything you need in order to acquire everything that you gain. But when you leave this world with, once again, everything you need, and everything you've gained is simply an accessory in your life. It's not who you are.
Right.
And a lot of us have lost ourselves because we've been consumed with things other than ourselves because we've lost connection with the creator. And where the Light Project comes in, the light is that bridge that takes you from yourself to the connection to the creator that we all universally have.
Right. You mentioned earlier a little bit about this, but I want you to deep dive on it if you don't mind. What are these transformation centers and how would they actually work in real communities?
Well, the transformations centers are simply resource centers that we're establishing in all the major urban areas within the United States. And what they're doing is simply we're collaborating with other nonprofits and we're bringing our resources together where we can allow individuals who are often underserved or overlooked to obtain necessary resources that they may need, regardless of whatever time it may be, because these are 24-hour ran services, or centers, I should say, 24-hour centers, where they can come and get either what they need or they can get put in the right direction.
Right.
And go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And one of the things that we've noticed, like I said, with the Light Resource Center, what we're doing is we are bringing together different sources. We've noticed that oftentimes sources are good, but they're only within certain areas, and everyone may not have the access to get to that. And that's one of the reasons why we're putting like a light basically on top of all of our centers to make our centers unique. So when individuals see them, they can see them from wherever they're at.
Right. There's so much division in our world today. How do you plan to unite people from different races, religions, and backgrounds? That's a big task.
Well, it is, but it's something that can certainly be accomplished. One of the things that we intend on doing is establishing the basic tenets of as far as not only individuals, but individual groups. In other words, we know there are certain things that every society needs. I don't care what your nationality or your background is. Every society or every group of people is looking for respect, effective communication, um, mastery of oneself. As far as living, every community is living, but most communities are barely getting by. They're on a life support line. And what we're looking to do is help communities live intensely.
Right.
And when I say intensely, I just mean, with a purpose. A lot of us don't have a purpose really anymore in this life. Or we feel like that purpose is constantly being stopped by different obstacles. Also, go ahead. I'm sorry.
How is it that communities can become more self-sufficient through your model?
Well, one of the things that we're doing, we plan on establishing cultural community concept centers, which are simply centers where we are purchasing, or I should say, acquiring different buildings where we are allowing individuals to design almost like well, exactly like it sounds, a community resource center, but a concept center where we're allowing them to learn different vocational skills within this center. We're allowing them to stay there if they need to. We're allowing them to freely communicate and interact with each other as long as certain guidelines have been established. We want to break communities of the poverty mind state that most individuals currently have. And with the transformation center concept, the idea is to help people transform into who they really are.
Right.
A lot of people think they're ordinary, but they don't realize they are extraordinary.
Right.
Everyone is a walking miracle. It's just not everyone is aware of it.
Mm.
And our goal is to help people realize that you are the miracle that you see. Everything about you is one of a kind.
Right.
But when you learn that connection concept, then you can truly have a community. And there are more similarities that we have in life than differences.
Right. Let me ask you this. What role does education and self-development play in your vision, Thomas?
Education has a huge role in this because a lot of people have education, but when you look at education and what it is, education is unbiased. Education is actual facts, not just facts that you want to believe.
Right.
Right. And with the centers, what we're doing is we're establishing actually, and this is one thing we're looking for right now. We're looking for individuals that can donate, books to us because books are a huge thing to me. I used to sleep in the library.
Mm.
I mean, that was my bed,
Right.
And the library is why I got freedom that I could never find in the life that I lived, but in the life that I wanted to be, the life that I wanted to live in. I found that freedom within books.
Right.
And one thing we want to do is we want to establish learning centers, and we also want to establish like different concepts we've designed where individuals can. Well, one thing, for example, we're putting rooms in these centers where individuals on both sides of a wall, but they look directly at the wall. They don't look at the person. The reason being is because oftentimes when you look at someone, that determines the level of wisdom that you think they may have or the level of wisdom you think you can give them. And it limits interaction. I think one of the greatest things that happen when you don't have something that you can see or someone that you can see and you're simply talking is when you really find out who they are. That's when you really see the light in an individual. It's not so much when you're looking at someone and you can see who you think they are, but when you see who they really are.
Right. Right. Thomas, I want to sort of switch gears in our show right now and talk a little bit about leadership and because you are such an incredible leader, and I want to get your thoughts on some leadership type issues and questions that I have for you. But what qualities do you think make a true transformational leader today?
I think one of the things that make a true transformational leader is dedication. I think dedication is something that's highly underrated right now. Dedication, first off, means that you're dedicated to your ideals. You know what your ideals are, and you're dedicated to perfecting those ideals and showing those ideals or showing those ideas to others.
Right. Right.
In my opinion, what makes a leader is someone that is an extraordinary person that does something in ordinary times, whose impression lasts beyond their lifetime. That's a leader.
Right. Well, I was gonna drop the gloves on you on this and put you in the frying pan right now, but how can people rebuild their lives mentally, spiritually, and financially? That's a big question. And so I want to hit you with it now.
I think one of the things that people can do for their life, first off, is stop chasing personality, start chasing purpose.
Mm,
Start finding your purpose in life instead of getting caught up in other people's personalities. Ask yourself, when you first read the Bible, or when you first found the light or the creator within yourself, what did you look for? Did you look for the personality, or did you look for the purpose?
right.
Also, as far as rebuilding your life, two things I used to always pray for, because I asked God one time, I said, what do I pray for? And he said, pray for wisdom, understanding, and the ability to use both in the correct manner.
Mm-mm-mm.
People need to understand that prayer is a direct communication to the creator. It's not a begging system. It's not a crying system. Everything out here operates on a universal order.
Right.
They need to take what they see on the outside and allow it to develop in themselves from within.
Right. Exactly. What does the temple of truth mean within your overall vision?
The temple of truth means that, well, this is going to be kind of like a 2 point here. First off, a temple is typically somewhere where people come together, where they commune, where there's a sense of community. And I see a lot of so-called temples or churches out here, but what I really refer to most of them as is nothing more than mausoleums.
Right.
It doesn't mean they're not good. It just means they don't have they have the spirit, but they don't have the connection to the bodies inside to make an effective change in the society that they're in. With the temple of truth, we're giving you truth. We're not making the determination on what it is that you do with it, but we're giving you the truth. When you give individuals the truth, the actual facts, not the biased facts, not the facts that just relate to where you are and where you're from, but the actual facts, then individuals can build within themselves, because you're that actual temple that you're seeking. Within you is the truth. All we're doing is establishing the temples of truth so you can come in and find out who you really are from the inside
Right.
and build off of that foundation and develop that within yourself. The greatest reflection of the creator is the reflection that you show from within you. And that's what the temples of truth are. Now, as far as physical buildings, they are connected to the Lighthouse Resource Centers. Actually, what we have is we have the Lighthouse Resource Centers, we have the cultural community concepts, and we have the temples of truth.
Right.
One takes you to the other. The
Correct.
resource,
There's synergy there between them.
exactly.
What would the first successful pilot community look like?
The first successful pilot community would basically be individuals that first off align with the concept or are trying to change their lives. I'm not asking for perfect people, but what I'm asking for is people that want to learn how to perfect the perfection within them. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to build, say something like the size of a mall, for example. We're looking for individuals that say, hey, I want a safe community, but I want a community of like-minded individuals. Well, what we're doing is we're obtaining those buildings. We're redesigning the inside of those buildings. So it's like a community, but it's a community of like-minded individuals that are protected in a sense.
Right.
Because you have to keep one thing in mind. One of the reasons why a lot of communities fail, it's not because they choose to, it's because they have constant negative influences from the outside that are allowed to come in and disrupt unity. I'm looking to change that.
Right. What kind of partnerships or sponsors are you currently seeking?
What I'm looking for right now is anyone that is within the tech industry. I'm looking for partnerships from them, as well as any major corporations that not only talk about making a difference, but really want to make a difference within the community and want to work with a grassroots organization. You know, the money that we get goes directly to the organization,
Right.
not to my pockets, not to somebody else's. My thing is not to not my thing is not to. Well, I'm just going to tell you here, it's not to prostitute the poor.
Right.
My thing is to help the beggars become billionaires.
Right. Let me ask you, how can viewers support or become involved in this mission, Thomas?
You can go on our website, which I believe you have the link for that, but it's thelight.net. You can also go on to the Light Project, which is currently on Instagram. You can also go on to Personality versus Purpose, which is currently on School, which is a platform we use. You can also find the Light Project on TikTok as well as the Light Project Africa, because we're looking for international sponsors as well.
Right. TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised you know what that is, Thomas.
Well, you know what, youngster? I might be old, but
yes, sir. You might be.
I might be. I might be a little aged in there.
Well,
But
let me ask you, what legacy do you hope the Light Project leaves for future generations?
what I want us to do is change the way people think and live their lives.
Right.
I want people to live with integrity, not just live, but I want people to be able to live again, to restore faith and humanity and in a sense of community and destroy the divisions that we currently have.
Right.
Because our God is not a divided God.
No, he's not.
You know, there's only one light. It doesn't matter what part of the world you're on. Everybody sees the exact same light and it affects them in the exact same way. So if we can take such energy and all have the same energy equally, why can't we respect each other and deal with ourselves accordingly?
Right. Right. You know, Thomas, we're almost out of time. And I have to tell you that, we went over your life story on my television show. And we were only able to scratch the surface of that. And you sort of dropped the gloves on that at the start of our show here today. And really, I think that deserves its own show because you have come from hell on earth, literally, at such a young age. And yet, God has given you this mandate with the Light Project that's much bigger than you. There's no way that the vision can happen unless God breathes on it. And you're just being obedient, and you've overcome so much in your life. I'd love to have you come back where we can share a little bit about that. If the viewers want to know more about it, I strongly encourage them to get your book, I'm Still Standing From the Ashes to the Light, which is really the foundational truth, right, that you speak from and stand on with the Light Project. But you've overcome so much. But I really, if we could, I want you to pull your chair close to the fireplace where the fire is crackling tonight. And it's sort of like a little fireside chat. We have to move to a close, but I have some questions for you that are legacy defining questions. Just powerful from your heart questions where you can make a difference. And so I want to start by asking you, If you could give one message to the world right now, what would it be?
We need unity, and we need to find the strength within ourselves. I've been to hell. I'm back.
Yeah.
If anybody asks me, I say, hey, you know what? I came to heaven. I was able to make it to heaven so I can get you out of hell.
Mm. And that's no joke. If you read your book, if you know your story, it's horrifying what you had to come up through as a child. Then no child should ever have to experience that. And here you are, successful in business, a leader, and now God has given you the mandate with the Light Project. Let me ask you, what does hope mean to you in today's society?
Hope for me means that we will come to a society where we understand we all have one common cause, and that is to unite and build together. No longer be separate. Realize that your obstacles are opportunities. Realize that every day you're above ground is the most precious gift you'll ever have. And to stop building your life off of personalities and start digging into the purpose of who you truly are. And that's what the Light Project is built for, to get you to that level. Leadership is something that can be universal when it's applied universally. I'm not
Right.
saying and I'm not saying everybody has to be a leader, but they need to learn how to lead more effectively in their own lives.
Why is now the right time for the movement focused on transformation and unity?
Because the old ways have failed. It doesn't mean that they weren't good at one time, but God is the evolutionary God, not a stagnant God. And we can't allow a stagnant society to stop us from evolving into a higher level of self. And if not now, when? Are we
Right.
gonna, are we gonna wait and when are you gonna jump? When are you gonna make that move?
What is the deeper meaning behind the name The Light Project? I know that you've touched on it a little bit, but as we close out our show, tell me what the deeper meaning is behind the name of The Light Project.
The meaning of the Light Project is because I asked God, I asked the creator, I should say, when I was down, I read a book and it said, you are God. You are an image of me. And it made me cry because I said, I'm trying to find you, but where are you? I go to these churches, I go to these different places, but I can't find you. He said, son, I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere you are. And I said, why are you so hard to find? He said, because I am the truth in front of you that you cannot see.
Mm.
And he said, that is what is wrong with today's society. That's wrong. That's what's wrong with the world. That's what I want you to show them. And I said, what are you? He said, I'm light. I said, what do you mean? He said, when you open your eyes, what do you see? I said, I see light. He said, where do you see it? Just in you? I said, no, I see it everywhere. And he said, that's where I am.
Right.
He said, I affect everything. And I said, what does light stand for? And he said, living, learn how to live again
Mm.
intensely. He said, you forgot how to live a long time ago. You've lived, but you've lived on the edge of society. And you're talking to a man. I used to sleep in the graveyard because I had more in common with the dead than I did with the living.
Oh, and you're not kidding. I know you're not. Thomas, we're just about out of time, my friend. Uh, Wrap us up on this show right now with a message of hope, of love, of inspiration, of light to somebody right now, ordinary person that so resonates with your story, so resonates with your messaging. Um, what would you say to them as we wrap up our show, sir?
I would say, first off, don't give up on yourself. Love yourself. Have a love affair with yourself every single day. Realize that you're an extraordinary being. I've been there. I've done that. I've been where you're at. There's a brighter way. Find the light within yourself. Become part of us so you can truly know who you are. But just know that you are an extraordinary blessing. Every time you look in the mirror, you are the miracle that you seek. Learn how to understand yourself, and you'll learn how to conquer the world. You don't have to ask for the power. It's already in you.
Right.
Just allow the power to be within you and allow it to your fullest potential. You are the closest image of God that you will seek.
Thomas Campbell, author, best-selling author of I'm Still Standing, From the Ashes to the Light, founder of the Light Project. What an honor, sir, to have you on our show today. Before I wrap, I want to get your commitment to come back and see me again. Not only here, but on our nationally syndicated television show. You have such gifting, you have such a mandate, and I believe in the gifting that's on your life, sir. I believe on the mandate that is on your life. So will you come back and see us again?
Most definitely. Most definitely. It's always a pleasure.
Well, what I'm going to do is, again, drop those links one more time, Thomas, before we wrap.
www.thelightproject.net. Also, I'm on Amazon, From the Ashes to the Light, I'm Still Standing. Also, the Light Project is on TikTok. It's also the Light Project on Instagram, where you can also find us on Facebook, the Light Project. Of course, you'll see me there as well, Thomas Campbell. Please reach out to me. Let's pull our resources together. Let's have a common goal. Let's establish the light that we need within our communities by truly pulling ourselves together and truly making a difference in this world.
Amen. Amen. Thomas Campbell, a pleasure to have you on our show. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check out this powerful man of God who is on assignment, fulfilling a big mandate that is on his life, impacting the nations and cities all across the United States of America, and has a global vision as well. Let's support him. Let's get behind him and do that. Thomas Campbell, thank you again for coming on our show today. And thank you for what you're doing and fulfilling the mandate that's on your life, sir.
Thank you so much, TC, for being on here. It's always a pleasure. I look forward to hearing from everyone. And everyone, keep that light within yourself alive.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.